Today, I come to you with a message from the universe, one that is deeply significant and filled with truth. Nothing in this life happens by coincidence. Every action, every choice, every moment has a purpose. And right now, something powerful is unfolding behind the scenes. You may not see it yet, but trust that the universe is setting things right in ways you never imagined. Perhaps you have felt like justice has been delayed, like the universe has been silent in the face of your pain. Maybe you have wondered if those who hurt you, those who betrayed your love, manipulated your trust, and walked away without remorse, have gotten away with it. But I am here to tell you, dear one, that is not the case. The universe has been watching. It has seen your silent suffering, heard the cries of your heart, and felt the sting of your betrayal. The pain you endured did not go unnoticed, and now the time has come for karma to restore balance. Do you remember the one who deceived you? The one who looked into your eyes, swore they loved you, and then turned around and shattered your trust? The person who walked away so easily, leaving you to pick up the broken pieces of your heart while they ran into the arms of someone else? And do you recall the person they chose over you? The one who eagerly joined them in their deception, laughing at your pain, reveling in your downfall? This was no accident. These two, once so confident in their choices, once so sure that they had won, are now facing something that neither of them saw coming. But what if I told you that their suffering is not a mere coincidence? What if I told you that the universe, in its infinite wisdom, has orchestrated something so precise, so undeniable, that they are now being forced to face the weight of their own actions? Yes, dear one, karma has arrived, and it is unfolding in a way they never expected. Once, they believed they had found happiness together. They flaunted their so-called love, parading it as though it were a prize, as though betraying you had been the best decision they ever made. But what they failed to understand is that what is built on deception cannot stand. What is rooted in lies will always crumble. And now they are living that truth. They share the same space, yet they have never been more distant. They live under the same roof, yet their hearts are miles apart. The passion they once boasted about? Gone. The love they used to justify their betrayal? Exposed as an illusion. The laughter they once shared at your expense? Replaced by silence and sorrow. Because, dear one, the universe has seen it all, and it never forgets. Behind closed doors, something even more shocking is happening. Secrets are unraveling. Truths are being exposed, and the foundation of their deception is crumbling beneath their feet. You may not see it yet, but know this: they are living the consequences of their choices in ways they never anticipated. Are you ready to know what is really happening behind those closed doors? Because the truth is far more shocking than you can imagine. Last night, something unexpected, something devastating happened between them. If you think it was just a simple argument, a temporary fight, you are mistaken. What happened was much, much worse. They stood there, staring at each other, not with love, but with fear, not with admiration, but with anger and disbelief. In their hands, they held something that changed everything: medical reports. For days, they had felt something was wrong. For weeks, they ignored the signs, dismissing them as nothing more than a minor inconvenience. They assumed it would pass, that it was nothing to worry about. But last night, reality struck them like a storm. And dear one, those results were not just bad. They were devastating. The kind of results that shatter illusions, destroy trust, and break a person's spirit. Instead of turning to each other for comfort, they turned against each other. Anger erupted. Accusations flew like daggers. Voices rose in fury. And in the midst of their chaos, your name was spoken. Why? Why in their moment of crisis did they think of you? What do you have to do with their suffering? Because, my dear, this is where the truth becomes even more shocking. Are you ready to uncover what was written in those reports? Are you prepared to hear the revelation that changed everything? The reports confirmed what neither of them wanted to admit. They both tested positive for a sexually transmitted disease. And in that moment, the reality of their actions struck them harder than they ever imagined. The pain they caused, the lies they told, the betrayal they built their so-called love upon, it all came crashing down. Blame filled the air. Denial ran wild. One pointed the finger at the other, hurling accusations of betrayal. The other screamed back, refusing to accept responsibility. Their so-called love, the love they so proudly flaunted, turned to hatred in the blink of an eye. And yet, deep inside, they both knew the truth. This was karma. This was the universe restoring balance. Because you, dear one, did not deserve the pain they caused. You did not deserve the nights of tears, the self-doubt, the heartbreak. You did not deserve the lies, the manipulation, the humiliation. And the universe, it never forgets. It never turns a blind eye to injustice. It never allows betrayal to go unanswered. This is not about revenge, my dear. This is about justice. This is about the universal law that ensures that every action comes full circle. And now, as they sit in the wreckage of their choices, you are rising. You are healing. You are stepping into your power. While they struggle under the weight of their own deception, you are being lifted to new heights. You see, the universe was never against you. The delays were not denials. The waiting was not punishment. It was preparation. Because while they were busy digging their own graves, you were being prepared for something greater. So lift your head. Walk forward with confidence. The universe is on your side. And now, it is your time to shine. Dear one, walk forward in grace. For the universe always stands with those who walk in truth. It may not always feel like it, but divine justice is real. You may not see it right away, but karma is always at work, not as a force of punishment, but as a force of balance. Every action carries energy, and that energy must return to its source. Those who cause pain will, in time, feel that same pain. Those who betray trust will one day know the sting of betrayal. Those who deceive and manipulate will ultimately be caught in their own web of deception. But you, dear soul, have nothing to fear. You are protected. You are loved. And the universe is always working in your favor, even when it feels like the world is against you. Trust in divine timing, trust in the process, and most of all, trust that justice is always certain. They never expected this. At first, it was just a slight discomfort, a minor ache, a fleeting sensation they barely noticed. They brushed it off, convincing themselves it was nothing. But as the days passed, the signs became harder to ignore. The restless nights turned into exhausted mornings. The uneasy feeling in their gut refused to fade. There was a whisper of fear, a silent warning that something wasn't right. Yet they refused to acknowledge it. They told themselves it was just stress. Maybe it was the weather. Maybe they just needed rest. But deep down, the truth gnawed at them. They just weren't ready to face it. Then one day, a single conversation changed everything. Someone mentioned the reports, the rising cases, the urgent warnings, the undeniable facts. A shadow of dread fell over them. Their hands trembled as they reached for their phones, desperately searching for reassurance, for any sign that this couldn't be real. But the more they read, the more the reality sank in. Every symptom they had dismissed was listed right there in front of them, matching perfectly. Their hearts pounded. Their breathing became shallow. The truth was undeniable. Panic took hold. The fear that had quietly settled in their hearts now roared to life, transforming into rage. They turned to each other, their eyes blazing with accusation. "How could you do this to me?" One of them screamed. "You're the one who brought this into our lives." The other shot back. The room filled with the echoes of their anger, their voices sharp as blades. Neither was willing to accept the truth. Neither was willing to take responsibility. Instead, the blame shifted back and forth like a storm growing stronger with every passing second. Then, in the heat of the argument, the worst betrayal was spoken. One of them turned, their voice dripping with resentment. Your name left their lips. "You must have been with them before we were together," she spat, her words filled with venom. "That's the only explanation. They must be the reason we have this. Can you believe it, dear child?" Even in the midst of their own chaos, even as their world crumbled around them, they reached for your name. Instead of facing the truth of their own choices, they searched for a scapegoat. And they chose you. Someone who had nothing to do with their mistakes. Someone who had long moved on, unaware that their name was being whispered with bitterness, dragged into a storm they never created. But listen to me. This is not your burden to carry. These people are drowning in their own toxic energy. They have built walls of anger, deceit, and blame, and now they seek to pull you into their darkness. Do not let them. You were not placed on this earth to carry the weight of their guilt. You were not meant to be shackled by their bitterness. The past is behind you. Their choices, their actions, and their consequences are not yours to bear. Instead, you are meant to rise, to stand in your truth, to walk in your light, above the noise, above the accusations, above the lies. Because here is the truth. What they say about you does not define you. Their words hold no power over you unless you allow them to. Their negativity, their resentment, their attempts to drag you into their misery, none of it can touch you unless you let it. And I promise you, dear one, their darkness cannot dim your light. I know it hurts. I know betrayal feels like a wound that will never heal. I know the sting of being blamed for something you had nothing to do with. But hear me when I say this. God sees everything. He sees your heart. He knows the truth, and He is moving on your behalf. Even now, in this very moment, a shift is happening in the spiritual realm. Doors that were once closed are beginning to open. Chains that once held you back are breaking. Justice is being served, not in your time, but in divine timing. And let me tell you something. Your future is too bright to be dimmed by their darkness. Your blessings are too great to be blocked by their bitterness. You are destined for something far greater than the petty accusations of those who refuse to take responsibility for their own lives. You are chosen, you are protected, and you are walking in favor.